Today we're joined by a very interesting guest, Ron Shah, the co-founder and CEO of Obvi. They run one of the most vibrant and bold collagen protein brands in the world. More importantly, they don't just do supplements to help build muscle, but they do it to help improve the beauty of women. Today we talked about how they started Obvi with $10,000 and how they scaled it now to $30 million in sales, how they built the second largest collagen protein community on Facebook, and how they successfully do product launches that sell out. And more importantly, their plan to scale to $100 million in the next 2 years. Let's get right into the podcast. Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome back to Ecom Insider Talk by Agency GR. Today, we're joined by the one and only Ron from Obvi. And it's a pleasure to have you on here. How are you doing? How's your day been going so far?
Doing great, man. It's actually an honor to be on here too, man. It's awesome to have the opportunity for being on a platform that you created to be able to tell my story, and I think the honor is mutual. So excited and ready to dive in.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe before we dive in, can you tell me a bit more, can you tell the audience a bit more about who you are, what you run? You run a great company. You're all over Twitter, but still there might be a couple of people living under the rock who haven't seen you yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the CEO of Obvi. I'm also one of the co-founders. We have 3 co-founders. We started the company back in June of 2019. And prior to that, I was an accounting major from Pace University, right in Midtown New York. And I was supposed to be an accountant my whole life because that's where my father has spent his whole life. And things took a little bit of a turn, so for the better. But today, I serve as primary roles in operations, finance, and marketing, and just surrounded by a great team. And we're looking to hit $100 million in revenue, and that's our goal. And we're slowly chipping away at it.
Yeah. You're basically a third on the way there right now.
Yeah, third of the way there.
Yeah, you have an amazing story. So I think we can kind of dive into that. You mentioned that you started off with accounting and then you made this, I've followed through your story, so I kind of know what happened, but I think for the audience, it could be very interesting to see how you went from accounting, then, into marketing, and now your own brand.
Absolutely. So, my dad has always worked at a big four name, at a company called Ernst & Young. And ever since I went to college, high school, everything, he said, hey, this is a steady career path. Make sure you follow it. It's guaranteed amount of money you'll make, and you'll live a very content life. So I was okay with that. My dad's my mentor. I listen to everything he says. And so I was an accounting major. I got an opportunity to work at Deloitte, which is a competing big four, to my dad, but he was okay with it. I was actually moving more towards consulting. Deloitte Consulting was a practice I was in. I was there for about a year and a half. And it was interesting. I had moved away from the city into New Jersey because it's cheaper rent. And I actually moved with my college roommate. So we both lived in an apartment building in Jersey City, right outside of New York City. And my partner at that, my roommate at that time, he didn't have a job, but he luckily, just through talking to someone in the elevator in our building, got an opportunity to be a graphic designer, which is his background, at a company called Shreds. And it was really cool because the company started in that building. And so at the top of that building, that company had started in Jersey City, and it was a supplement brand. They were selling fat burners and creatine and stuff like that. Arvin Law was the CEO, and my roommate basically got an opportunity to work there. And he's working crazy hours. So I'm going to Deloitte in the city. I'm back by 6, 7 p.m. Ankit would work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Everyone lived in the building that worked in the company. So he'd come home around 6, 7 p.m., eat and shower. And then 8 p.m., he headed back up for the second shift. And then come back around 2, 3 a.m. every single day. And I'd always ask him, aren't you getting burnt out? For the first few months, I'm like, why are you doing this? And he's like, it's one of the most phenomenal experiences of my life. So I started, because they lived in the same building, I started talking to them and having conversations. And they're like, hey, listen, we're really in need of a controller. The CFO needs some help. And I was like, oh, I don't know anything about a controller. I'm an accountant. They're like, well, why don't you come and take a look at it? You know numbers really well. So then I talked to my dad and I asked my dad, could I take on this opportunity? He said, well, you can take on the opportunity if I can meet the co-founders of the company and ask them if they're going to take care of you. So he came in. This has all happened in a quick time. And my dad basically signed off on saying, all right, go take this leap of faith, go be a controller for a startup company that has no idea what they're doing. And because you can always come back and do accounting. So I started working there in late 2013. And we were on the brink of building one of the fastest growing supplement brands there. We also were incubating a seasoning brand called Flavor God and a tea company called skinny.com, which is still, around today. So really cool. We worked 2 shifts a day, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. You go home, shower, eat. Everyone lived in the same building. You worked on the penthouse at the CEO's apartment. You came in for your second shift around 8 p.m. and you worked until 2 a.m. Your only day off was Saturday. So you worked Sunday as well. But we loved every single minute of it. We didn't know about an outside world, nothing else. That's all we focused on. In about 2.5 years that I worked there, we quickly grew ARR to almost 100 million across all 3 companies combined. This is where egos, money management, cash flow management, and a lot of that comes into play, because when you're making money like that, you need to know what to do with it. Otherwise, you're going to spend it and not understand that your business is cyclical and can get affected. And unfortunately, they didn't see that coming. So the business did take a big deep dive to where we had a 100-person team that had to get down to about 14. So it was pretty intense, all in a span of less than 3 years that this happened, the growth and the fall. I got to really learn marketing because on my second shift at the company, I didn't have much else to do as a controller. I finished my books, I did everything. So I started asking the CEO a lot of questions. I said, you're spending this much on Instagram shouts at that time. Why are you not spending more on this one? And why aren't you doing this? And I've always asked a lot of questions. So he started bringing me more into the marketing justification meetings. And then I slowly shifted to a role where I ran, I got out of the controller role and I ran the marketing department and the data analytics department. So we had marketing and data in one room right next to the CEO's office. So that was my core role. The really cool part there that I got to do was I got to meet my partners there, right? So obviously my roommate, who was the graphic designer there, he is actually one of my partners today. And my other third partner is also someone who worked on my data analytics team. His name's Ashwin, which you've probably seen on Twitter too. So we all worked at Shreds and we all met each other and we all have distinct capabilities. So we kind of never crossed paths in terms of our work, but we crossed paths on ideas and trying to see the world a different way. So we loved working with each other. So yeah, that's a little bit about the journey of kind of how we all met, and then how, Shreds kind of really gave us that foundation to say, we love doing this. We love building a business up. So us 3, we became the closest. We told ourselves one day we're going to start our own brand. But until then, we're going to learn as much as we can. So we thought that the next step to learning would be, why don't we start our own marketing agency? Because basically we can learn on the dime of others. However, we could also really perfect our craft while helping others, right? Ankit, who is an expert designer, he can keep on working on websites, branding, labels. Ashwin, who's a paid marketing expert, he can keep working on Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Twitter, Snapchat, and learn all these things on, with other people's budgets. And myself, I can come in and find the holes and gaps in operations, finance, and really help build infrastructure. So we said, all right, we have a reason to create a marketing agency because it'll get us to our eventual goal of having our own brand. So we started the marketing agency. It's called Ghost 3 Media. It was just 3 of us. We had no staff, nothing. And we said we're going to stick to health and wellness because that's what we knew best. We ran that for about 3 years until from 2016 to 2019, or almost 4 years actually. And we accumulated about 3 million in revenue across 25 different clients in the health and wellness space. Amazing experience. We made a lot of mistakes. We never collected money on certain people. We did too much work. We always undervalued ourselves, but we got probably the best hands-on experience on how to build multiple brands. We got to learn what not to do more than we got to learn what to do. So 2019 came around, and it was January 2019. We said, guys, we've been at it for some years now. Do you think it's time to start our own brand? And the conversation one night in one of our apartments was just, all right, what are we going to do? Let's do it. We knew we wanted to stick to health and wellness, but we really wanted to get away from sports nutrition, because the idea of more pre-workout formulas and more whey protein formulas, there's only so much more you can do innovation-wise, right? How much more caffeine can you add to a pre-workout? So we basically said, okay, if we don't want to do sports nutrition, what's the other place we can disrupt? And so we really, really enjoyed looking into the space called nutracosmetics, which is getting cosmetic benefits through the nutrition that you take. And the product leader in that category is collagen, because collagen is nutrition you take that gives you cosmetic benefits. So we looked at that space and said, we can disrupt this, because collagen, up until we came, at least in our opinion, was a very boring product. It was a very, very unglamorous product that worked, but no one made it look cool. So that was kind of the journey to Obvi.
So then you basically launched Obvi. Basically, what was it with kind of like the with two main flavors, fruit cereal, cinnamon cereal.
Yeah, fruit cereal and cinnamon cereal. What our goal was we wanted to make sure that the way we're going to disrupt is going to bring back nostalgia to this category. 89% of the market for collagen is unflavored collagen. So we said, is that the market because no one's done flavors correctly? Or is that the market because everything else kind of just looks not exciting? So we said, we're going to bring the most nostalgic flavors with the most loud and vibrant packaging. And it was kind of like, all right, let's try it. So we were also very not financially, I guess, fluffed up because of the mistakes we did make in our agency, where we didn't collect money. We didn't, so we only had about $10,000 to put into this total. So we each put in $3,300 into a bank account, and we went and did our first 2 flavor orders, which was fruity cereal and cinnamon cereal, like you stated. And we said, this is what we're going to launch with, and this is kind of like make it or break it for us. And June 1st, 2019, we launched Obvi with 2 flavors, and most of our money depleted in ordering that purchase order.
Yeah. So then what happened with marketing? Like obviously, like your background is marketing. So what happened with that if you spent all your money on product?
Yeah. No, 100%. What we had to do was we obviously opened a credit card that was a small credit line. And what we said was, we're going to start with $100, okay, a day. And Ashwin was, at this point, he was like, okay, I can make that work. And what our rule was, we do not increase our spend until we're profitable. And it's very tough to be profitable from day one. But what played on our side, and this is why I love my partners, they're each such experts at their crafts. So if you look at the branding that Ankit did, the design and the packaging, it was so vibrant. To even the simplest photo makes you stop your scroll on an ad, right? So when we first started ads, almost from day one, our CPM, CTR, CPCs, all the stats were great, because our packaging and our product and our market fit was so unique. Nobody was doing it, right? There's still nobody doing collagen the way we're doing it. So we were lucky in a way where marketing worked kind of almost from day one. And because we were so honed in on, we have to be profitable, every single day was broken out by an hour. And we said, how much money did we make last hour? What's the profit? We've looked at, since the start of Obvi, every single part of our business by the hour. Even till this day, even days where we do $50,000 in revenue a day, Ashwin is still looking at, damn, we had a rough hour last week, the last hour. Can we send out an email or a text to make up for it? You know, that's our mindset. And we've been ingrained in that. So I think we were able to make marketing work because we didn't have a choice. And then on top of that, we were unique enough where marketing was on our side.
If you need help auditing or improving your email or SMS marketing, schedule a call and let's see if and how we can help. Go to agencygr.com/call and book in a call with us. That's agencyj as in Jacob, R as in Reynes.com/call. And let's see how we can help. You see a lot of people get into supplements and then they go the traditional route, and really what ends up happening, I might be wrong, but from what I'm seeing, they get stuck in the cycle where it's very tough to advertise. It's very tough to acquire customers for, let's say, your average whey protein powders. There's so much competition there. You really need to be extremely unique, and I've spoken with people that do maybe like 300, 500K a month, and for them, like, even their profit margins are not that great. They're kind of like on the brink of like break even, a little bit of profit, which, like, for a business when you're making $500,000 a month, it's very risky.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
So that's been amazing for you.
Yeah,
Profitable.
yeah. It is. You know, I think there's some quote out there that says you need to have luck on your side too, right?
Right.
And it would be foolish to say if a lot of what kind of happened in our first few months also wasn't luck. You know, we definitely had some luck on our end. We were lucky to be able to pick a category that wasn't pre-workout. You know, it was good that we had that conversation. We were lucky that the first piece of content that we did shoot with our photographer was very vibrant and pink and loud. We were lucky that Facebook was also in a good place. You know, launching a brand during last June, though, we would have been rocked. You know, we wouldn't even be here today. So there's timing, luck, and then I think pure craft involved in bringing it together.
100%, 100%. One thing that I found really curious is that, like, right now we speak to a lot of people who maybe had a dropshipping background. Now they turn into building brands. What a lot of them do, they kind of like start with a product, dropship it, white label it, don't order stock, and then they might tweak the product, improve it, and brand it. With you, you didn't kind of go through this product market fit process. So, like, with product market fit, was it just like your experience from being in the health and wellness space and you just know this would rock, or was it just like complete luck?
No, you nailed it. It was us saying we knew we wanted to be in health and wellness, right? That brings it down. That narrows the filter down to pretty much a few subcategories, right? You have sports nutrition, you have wellness, and then you have this Nutra Cosmetics, right? So when you kind of really boil it down, there's not that much to choose from. Now, what was good was because we had so much negative experience with pre-workout and sports nutrition, we were kind of shunned away from that. Wellness is kind of this category of like, it's a bit too soft, right? And you have to be like very natural and you can't be too loud. So we were like, I don't know how we're going to disrupt wellness, right? And so we really love this mixture between nutrition, beauty, and cosmetics. And we kind of just loved that there was not too much noise there.
Right.
So part of it was being that our background helped us filter it down. And then I think kind of us choosing the right place to make the disruption happen.
Right. Gotcha. That's good. That's good. So if you had to relaunch Obvi again back in the day, what would be the things you'd do differently?
Oh man, I almost would want to say I wouldn't change a thing. But the one thing that I would do differently is I would probably launch more products earlier. Like knowing how we've scaled, I think we would have launched our community and efforts in our community and efforts in launching SKUs even earlier. because that has been able to take us on a rocket ship.
Yeah.
And if I knew that before mid 2020, we probably would have been even at a faster rate than we are. But I don't know if I would change too much. Only other thing is I would probably get involved in influencers a little bit earlier. It's one of the things that's just not our expertise. We've always kind of put it off, and yeah, we send out some influencer packages and this and that, but we don't have a face to the brand, right? And I wish we almost had the foresight of getting that celebrity piece earlier, but that's about it.
I mean, like, I guess with the face of the brand as well, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you can build relationship around it, but then when it might maybe come to an exit, or there might be a fallout with the face, it's kind of like it's like, you know,
Exactly.
it's
it's
that's
the only reason I have hesitation in saying I would definitely do that. I think I would just think about it.
Right.
Before we move forward, I quickly want to take a step back to product launch, which is really interesting to me. This is not my first time hearing from 8, 9-figure brands that product launches are extremely important. So here's when I ask, like, how do you go about them? Do you first gather some information from the community, or do you kind of prove the product market with the community and then see if you need to order more of those products? And like, why are product launches so important, do you think?
Yeah, great question. So for us, for product market, for launches, what we do is we built a community from day one, right? And so we utilize them. Even if we were only at 100 people in the community, we treated them like there were 50,000 people in there, okay? And we simply said, what do you want to see, right? So when we launched with collagen, one of the questions would be, what's the next flavor you want to see, right? Everyone voted cocoa cereal, right? So we launched cocoa cereal. When we got into more capsule products, we asked people outside of collagen, what do you want to see? A lot of people wrote fat burner. A lot of people wrote multivitamin, a detox product, carb blocker, this, that. So we just took the top item that was voted every couple months that we would do a survey from Typeform, and we would go and say, okay, let's get this on our roadmap, right? And I have this yellow sheet. I wish I had it in here. We just have this ongoing roadmap of, okay, let's put this on the list, and then let's go in R&D and figure out how we're going to make it happen. It was 2021 where we did 26 product launches.
Wow.
So it was once every 2 weeks. And it was the year we won Brand of the Year as well. But it was really cool because those 26 product launches were all decided in 2020, that we're going to be doing this. All the labels were designed in 2020. All the orders and the roadmap with our manufacturer was placed in 2020. So if you can get ahead on your roadmap, and you can get ahead if you take out the guesswork, right? So what we did was, we're going to ask people what they want. We're going to release exactly that so that we don't have to worry that if it's going to do well or not, because it better do well if you ask for it, right? You better buy it. So when you take out the guesswork and you can plan ahead and you have a good manufacturing partner, this is a key, right? Is if you have a good manufacturing partner that is willing to basically say, okay, whatever you need by whatever date, I'll make sure you have it. And you have a good design team that can knock out labels, and you have a good content team where you can send them empty bottles so they can get mock content ready before the product even launches. All these stages, if you get all these things down as almost like a military kind of structure, you could just keep on doing this all day, every day. And we literally did that in 2021. And we started doing it in 2022 too. And honestly, there has been very few times where we've seen, oh, this didn't do well, because the women who asked for it, that's who we're giving it to, So the reason it's so important for us is we've taken out the effort needed to win retention. Our retention is not on a SKU level. Our retention is on an innovation level.
Yeah,
so
that's smart. A quick maybe side question here for the product launch, like a more technical question. How do you usually go about them? Do you first order like a set batch of units, then you test the product to see if it does well or not, to buy more, to basically roll into constant production? Like, how do you go about that from a technical
Yeah,
standpoint?
great question. I always have and always will order enough to sell out within a week to 2 weeks max. So I, till this date, will order only like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 units of something, because I know in our community of now 200,000 customers and 50,000 community members, we'll sell out in a couple of weeks. And I want to be sold out for at least 3 to 4 weeks, because in those 2 weeks that I sell out, product will start reaching all these women, right? And they'll start posting about it, talking about it. And all the people who didn't buy will start feeling FOMO. And once they feel FOMO, I know that that FOMO is going to kick into gear when I restock this. So my initial run is only enough to stock out instantly. My next run is to keep just a little bit more than a stock out again. So we always do about 2 to 3 stock outs per SKU, so that the restocks are almost mini launches for us too. So
that's a very nice, actionable tip there. Very, very, like a very smart setup there. So props there.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So with this, how do you measure the hype around it? Do you like do you have someone on the data team like looking at the traffic, like looking at the emails, or is it just like, oh, we sold out again, it's time to order another batch?
No, we have a launch tracker where the way we do it is again, everything is by the hour for us. So every launch we look at, and we launch at midnight on a Sunday, every single launch. So basically Saturday night, people get into a virtual queue, and then we open the store. And these are women, thousands of them, waiting at midnight to buy collagen, right? So that, for us, when we saw that phenomenon is possible, like, this is not sneakers, you know, this is not like a clothing drop or Yeezys. This is collagen powder. So when we saw that we were able to create that gateway, we measured the first 2 hours, midnight to 2 a.m. And then we measure 9 a.m. to about 9 p.m. the next day. And we see those two cohorts on how well it performed in terms of compared to other launches. And we'll basically know just off that, is this a flavor that's going to stick around? Are we going to do multiple restocks, or is it a one and done? One example I'll give you, orange cream is a collagen flavor we launched, okay? Our launch, we probably did about only $8,000 in the first couple hours, okay? And then throughout the day, maybe another 40K. So doing sub 50K on a flavor launch, we know this flavor is never going to be a restock, okay? But you take something like Entenmann's, right, where we did 150K, right? We know the hype is there, it's real. So it's purely driven by data. But then you have this other sentiment where you have a feeling in the community. You feel the words that are used, you feel the excitement, and you just know when you have a winner on your hands.
Right. Like, I think this is a good segue into one very interesting topic, the communities. It's been something I've seen people talk about, but it's very rare that you find someone who can actually do it right, who can actually have a community of people who engage. Because a lot of times you might have a good product, but then it's kind of like you push people to join a Facebook group, and then it's like, how do you keep it active? What's a great community? What's a bad community? I would almost say you've nailed this. Like, if you can do product launch through communities, if you can get feedback and like cut the learning curve, cut the money, like cut the spend, so you don't have to spend to figure out the products. So like, yeah, can you tell us a bit more about that? Like, how did you create an active community? Where did the idea come from?
Yeah, 100%. The idea stemmed from the fact that we always said, when we have to launch the next product, let's just ask our customers. So initially we were like, okay, we'll email them or we'll text message our customers. And then it turned into, well, why don't we just ask them on Instagram? Oh, why don't we do a poll here? And then it turned into, wait, why don't we just get them in a group, right? And so Facebook was the best place to do it. Our demographic is also a Facebook demographic, right? A little bit older women. So we created the group with initial intent of, we'll get a couple hundred people in here and we just can kind of talk to them. And hey, it's a way for us as male founders to make these women feel comfortable of, hey, here's who we are. You know, we're in your kind of in flesh here. So that's how it started. I mean, we started the community kind of end of 2019. And our initial goal was, all right, let's just get our customers. You know, we don't have that many customers, 10 customers a day. So we tried to funnel as many there. And then 2020, when we started scaling ads and we saw people who were joining the community were asking very, very helpful questions for everyone. So a lot of people, so new members will join and said, I just ordered this. Can someone tell me, can I put this in my coffee? Right? We ourselves were like, yeah, you can. But other customers were like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So then we saw, oh, wait, these members are helping other members, and that's helping retention, lower churn rate, etc. Why don't we make an effort to drive more and more people here post-purchase and even pre-purchase? So then every ad we commented, join our community if you have questions. Every email that we sent out, join our community. Every text message, join our community. Everything was community, community, community. And then you start seeing, oh, we're at 1,000 members. The engagement rate's insane. People are now starting to know our names. You know, me and Ash were very active in there. We started doing lives in there and people were joining, you know, hundreds of people were watching. And we're like, wait, this is a group of women that like want to be involved. So let's give them the power. So in 2020, we started saying, you tell us what you want, right? So we started doing surveys. And then when we launched our first thing that they voted on, I think they built trust in us. Because now it was, hey, we listened to you. So now just make sure you show up for us when we ask you. And so we kept listening to them. We kept launching only what they told us to. And so our entire launch schedule and every SKU you see at Obvi, it wasn't determined by the founders. It's a completely consumer, community-centric brand built by the community. So when people saw that, they appreciated it. And then we could go back to them and say, hey, we're going to launch this because you asked for it. We're going to give you early access. Make sure all of you almost show up and buy. And all of them showed up and bought. And that cycle becomes almost kind of addicting, right? So you're like, all right, give them more. Like, let's give them more. So it just,
they feel like they have power, basically. Like they feel like they have a say in a brand they like and like a brand that's unique. And they want to get more and more involved, right?
You have no idea. I mean, it's what's going on in Discord right now, right? With NFTs and stuff. It's people feel like they're talking to these founders of the NFT, right? And like, why don't we do this as a community? Why don't we do this? And we truly do have that where we empowered them. We basically sit there and say, what do you want next, right? We're just building this. We're just a factory. You guys are the CEOs. You guys are the, the marketers. You tell us.
Right. So there are a couple of things that are interesting. Like one thing to quickly recap, like just the way you drive people to the community, I think it's very smart. Like you commenting on the ads, they're going to be people who look at the ads. They might be thinking about the product, like, hey, is this legit? Is this actually going to help? And they see the comment, they can join, and they see other people just talking about it. And they see it's not like 3 people and their neighbor Jane. It's like 50,000 people in there talking about it, which is amazing. And it kind of goes back to like this. I don't know if you've read this essay, but there's essay 1,000 True Fans, and it talks about like if you're for example building something, all you need is 1,000 true fans. Yeah. If you have 1,000 true fans, if you for example do an event, if you launch a new product, they're always gonna buy everything. If you do it, let's say if you're a musician, you do a concert, they're gonna go across the country to watch a concert. They're gonna buy your merch, they're gonna buy your CDs, they're gonna buy everything you have, like all the limited release stuff. And it feels like you've gotten that, and more importantly, you've scaled it. So my question to you is, do you have a formula for building communities? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, no, 100%. I probably wouldn't call it a formula. I think what I would say is, I think what we have is a certain process that works if you're willing to build your business the way we built it. What comes in the way of this is if you're going to be the person that says, I want to launch this and I want to do it this way, and I want to make sure this is my next product, and I want to get into RTD and this, it's not going to work for you, right? But the process we did was we made the community the nucleus of the company. No matter how big or small it was, the community, if it was not growing, that was a bigger problem to us for the day compared to revenue being stagnant. If the community was not as engaging, or there were some negative comments in there, that was drop what you're doing and go cater to that, than worrying about, CPAs went up. Right. So when you train, I think, your mind, that's truly the only process is you make it so important that there's nothing else that matters. And I think that's what we did.
So I think one thing, there are companies who have created communities, but they failed. So maybe one question I want to ask you, like, what do you think helped make your community active? Is it kind of like the scale and the size of the community? Is it the content? Is the product?
No, it's actually, I don't think it's any of that. It's we empowered a select, I think now it's a group of 8 women. We empowered our first 8, not first, but like our top 8 contributors, and we turned them into admins and moderators. And what we said is, you have product free for lifetime. Come and help us manage. You have product free for lifetime. Come and help us manage this community. And these women, when they see product free for lifetime and the excitement level they have, I kid you not, they have 24/7 coverage in that community. And we're so excited with the work that they put in that it's almost unbelievable how much coverage they have. They answer the same question sometimes 15 times a day from 15 different people who have joined the community. So we turn our core group of women to becoming the nucleus of what a community means. And when we did that, that gave us the soul, the life and soul of having a community. Instead of it being, hey, we're launching a product, so now we're coming to say hi. These women are talking about random stuff. Like the other day, some woman talked about being on menopause, right? And all 8 of our admins and moderators talked about how scared they are to hit that point. And that customer who posted about her menopause probably feels like she's being heard, right? And that's unbelievable, because that's stuff that we can't do as males, sometimes. So that finding your brand evangelists and turning them into almost like representatives of your brand, I think was one of the best things we did.
Well, it kind of sounds like maybe if I want to oversimplify things, and if I had to build a formula myself, I think it's kind of like having a great product with some sort of a recurring aspect to it that's in a disruptive space. And then when it comes to the community aspect to it, give power to the people, let them decide, let them manage. And basically the engagement comes from within the community. That's very interesting. When did you let these women become admins? Was that a year ago, recently? How soon did that happen?
So it happened in phases. So initially it was just one woman, Brittany.
How early is this? Is this like 100 active members, 1,000?
About 300 or 400.
Okay.
Was like, okay, now it's becoming a lot more than just few conversations a day. It was becoming 10s and 20 conversations a day. So she was our first, and then pretty much every almost like 1,000 or couple thousand, we basically hired someone else. And we don't even have a formula of when. It's just, if we see someone going above and beyond helping others, we want to reward them.
Reach out. Yeah.
We reach out, and we have this WhatsApp group. We're talking all day, every day. These women are up at 4 a.m., 3 a.m., 2 a.m., just covering and helping other customers.
At what stage did you realize that like having and building communities is such a valuable asset to brands? Like, was it like at the early stage or just recently, like basically 6, 7, 8 figure level? Like, when was the realization for you?
Yeah, I think it was early stage for us, mainly because once we saw that one customer could help another, that was when, and that was early on, pretty early 2020, where we were like, wait, this dynamic could be very powerful because we don't have to just keep selling. We can use this community to educate by bringing in customers here because they'll help others. And so it was very early on, but it wasn't for the purpose that we have it now, which is, brand building, revenue. There's so many layers to it: recipes, content, UGC content, admin mod team, and brand evangelists, and so many things we use it for now. But initially it was, we basically were able to see, oh, we can educate others organically through the power of customers that we're paying for.
This also kind of brings me to in a sense, the next logical question. With any business, it's usually the case once you reach a certain stage. Let's say once you're at 6 figures, to get to 7 figures, you have to do things differently. The things that brought you to 6 figures are not going to get you to 7 figures, and the things that brought you to 7 figures are not going to get you 8 figures, and so on. So what were the things that you did differently at each of those stages, or what are those biggest learning curves you went through those stages right now, being at 9 figures?
Maybe specify, let's do beginning, 6 figures, 7 figures, and now multi 8 figures.
Yeah, sure. So beginning, I think the biggest thing we learned was, don't be so worried about, don't be so tight that you stunt your growth, right? At the first 6 months, of Obvi, June of 2019 to December, we did 178,000 in revenue. But a lot of that could have been maybe $250,000 or maybe even $500,000 if we weren't so, I guess, stringent on every penny, right? We were almost even if we had some good days, we were hard on the one on bad day, and we let that reflect the next few days. I think we needed to have a little bit more room for flexibility. I think you have to be very tight and disciplined, but maybe not too much, because you may stunt your potential early growth. When we got to 7 figures in revenue, that was when that's when I realized we need help on this team, because there's still only 3 of us. And that was the biggest lesson for us to start looking at this as a bigger vision. You need to have a bigger team, but bigger team didn't necessarily mean just hire for fun or just hire to hire. But what we realized was, let's find out where can we get the most help. So our first hire wasn't sales, wasn't anything marketing. It was customer service, because we felt that the biggest impact we can make is do right by the customer. So learning to boil down even hiring, going down to what you really need versus what seems glamorous, is very, very big lesson that I think you just have to talk to yourself and understand. And then I think journey to 8 figures was learning to diversify, because the reliance on Facebook and advertising, it can make or break your emotions. Poor Usher some days is totally controlled. His emotions are totally controlled by how well Facebook is performing that day. If Facebook is shitty, he's literally not going to sleep that night, and I know it.
Right.
But if Facebook's great, he walks around with 10 shoulders up. So diversifying, though, lets your emotions spread a little bit, and then you go a little bit less deeper in your emotion profile on each thing that can affect you. And as we go deeper and deeper, we've diversified our revenue stream, whether it's retail, TikTok, Facebook, Google. And so if one thing does go a little sideways, the business doesn't go sideways. That's the biggest lesson to learn.
And a quick last follow-up question. Obviously, right now, your next goal is 9 figures. I'm guessing you have done a lot of research, like 9-figure brands. What are they doing? And like, what is then the next upcoming change or the next thing you're looking into to push it to 9 figures?
Yeah, to push it to 9 figures, we need to learn one of the things that we have the least amount of knowledge in, which is retail. Direct to consumer, and there is 9-figure direct to consumer brands, don't get me wrong, but to be a direct to consumer 9-figure brand in this VMS space, especially in beauty, healthcare, wellness, it is hard. And so you need to split that revenue up with some retail. And so splitting revenue up isn't just like saying, oh, I want to split up the revenue. It's finding how we're going to be able to split that revenue. And that requires learning retail, learning food, drug, mass, learning how we're going to be able to afford that, learning how we're going to be able to get the inventory we need for that. So that is what's going to take us to 100 million. But we're going to take some years to do that. We'll take 2 or 3 years to do that, but we need to learn that part, because just getting to, doing $1 million a day in direct to consumer online is tough, and I don't want to put that pressure, in-house. I want some of it to ride on the pressure of Walmart, Target, Kroger, everyone's got to help.
Yeah, so you already are in some basically retail stores. If I'm not mistaken, you're in Sam's Club as well right now.
We're working on onboarding with Sam's Club. We are in Vitamin Shop nationwide, GNC. We're on RiteAid.com, Kroger.com. We're on iHerb, and we're working on quite a few other ones. But our biggest piece is we only have one person on the retail team.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah. There's only so much more he can tackle. He's killed it, absolutely killed it for us, managing, 2-3 million in revenue right now. But we need to grow that team, but it's tough.
So when it comes to this person, did you kind of like headhunt them? Were they in that area previously, and then you brought them on the team?
He was with us at Shreds.
Oh, okay. Everything goes back to Shreds. It was a good place for you for connections.
We have actually, out of the 9-person team we have now, 5 people are from Shreds.
Wow. Okay, so when it comes to retail, I think this is going to be interesting for other people who are running their own brands. For me, I'm clueless really when it comes to retail. All I know, I have a friend of mine in Sweden, one of his business partners. He has connections with people who run retail shops. So for him, this product they imported, his friend made the calls, they just pushed it out in the retail shops. But for you, like that's as much as I know about retails. For you, what's the process like? Do you need to cold email people? How do you even get into retail?
Yeah, what we did was we went to our community and we said, where do you guys want to see Obvi products? We created forms, and we also created a pretty big marketing campaign where we told them to comment and tag the store that they want us to be in on our Instagram, our Facebook. We told them to go to their local grocery markets and say, are you guys planning to carry Obvi? So to create buzz, okay? That actually helped us get in the eyes of Kroger, Rite Aid. But it wasn't enough for where Kroger and Rite Aid want us to bring us in store. They said, we'll test you online first, right? So that part helped. GNC Vitamin Shop we had experience with because it was where Shreds also was. It's where I know a lot of my friends who own supplement brands have gotten into. It's kind of like that middle of the pack retail, right? It's not impossible to get into, but it's also not easy. But we haven't entered into food, drug, mass yet, right? Which is the real Target, Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, all those. Those are the ones that we're starting to try to tickle. So I don't know if we're doing it the right way. I don't have that answer of it because we haven't done anything successful there yet. But that's the next stage.
That's interesting. I think we're going to need to do a follow-up on that. Yeah, because that's an interesting topic. Like kind of the mid market as well. Like the same thing as with one of my friends who sell in Sweden. I guess it's also kind of like connections. Like you need to have those connections there, and it just really helps. It's easier to show the product to people who can make decisions and just push it through. Like yeah, as it gets more corporate, you need to go through more people. It's slower decision making, and it gets a lot tougher. Okay, gotcha. So, yeah, I mean, like this podcast episode has been a blast. I think we can come to a wrap. It's been very nice talking with you.
Absolutely.
Maybe before we go, is there any lessons, anything you want the audience to go away with before we end the episode?
And plug yourself.
Yeah. About myself?
Plug yourself.
Plug yourself.
Yeah,
Where
afterward.
can people find you?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, I think the only lesson I will say is finding who you're going to start your company with, whether it's alone or with the key people around or key people around you. Make sure you have some coverage in finance, operations, and marketing and branding. And I know that's a handful, but when you're picking out a team, make sure those four functional areas are covered. And if you're going to do it alone, make sure you have a path to get coverage in those, because one cannot move without the other. And you're always, if one is missing, you're always going to be fishing either for money or answers because something doesn't have coverage. And all four of them, although they're so different, they work so closely together. And I didn't realize that until we kind of started this business. And I realized, because we each have a core coverage point in each of these, we were able to scale this quickly because everyone stayed in their own lane, but also covered every part of the business. So just a piece of when you're approaching it, it's not like, what's the product and how am I going to market it? Look at some of the other things that are not glamorous, because they're the only things that are going to let you move forward. Otherwise, they're a bottleneck. So yeah, that would be the one thing. And plugging myself, I'm on LinkedIn, Ron Shah on LinkedIn. I'm very active there, and Twitter, Obvi CEO. Find me there. Retweet some of my threads, and yeah, just follow our journey, man. Join the community. If you go to myobvi.com/group, or just type in Obvi Community on Facebook. We're 50,000 strong, and we're growing every day. So come and join us. It's a really fun place.
Amazing. Happy to have you on. Thanks so much for being on, Jacob, as well. Thank you. Hope you have a great day.
Thanks for having me. Absolutely. You too. And thank you guys. Awesome time.
Yes, thank you. Peace out.
All right.
If you thought this episode was valuable, share with a friend that might find this information useful, and leave a 5-star review so we can reach more influential people and bring lessons back to you. Now, I'll see you in the next episode.